You can join TikTok. Okay, perfect. Yay. I'm excited. Hey, Christy. Hey, folks. How are you? There I am. Relax, you guys. Relax. We were figuring out a few little technical things. It's okay. It's all good. Here I am. Hello again. Rev Karla's going to hop into my TikTok in a second. I'm going to bring her up over here and we're going to, hi, Ramona. Hey, Jay Bird. Hey, Sue. So I'm excited about this. Hey, folks. There you go. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to pop this sucker up over here. And I'm going to turn this off over here. And I'm going to expand you. And what? I need you to do what I want you to do, please. Hold on, y'all. I'm fixing it. I'm fixing it. It's going to be okay, I think, at some point. Come on, TikTok, work with me. And now I don't want 3 spaces, though. Did it go? Layup could not be. Okay, so let me shrink. And then I can do that. Ha! Okay, and now can you turn your camera on your phone or no? Yay! Oh, wait till you hear me okay. We can hear you perfect. Awesome. Yay! So this is great. I'm so excited. So let me just tell you guys, we were chatting away. So I'm very excited about this conversation. So grateful that that you were able to join. So for those of you guys who do not know, this is literally the first time we've talked. It was hey, I want to do a thing on this. What do you think? Would you be interested? And it was like, yes, I'll do this thing with you. And it was like maybe 3 text messages, and yet here we are.
It happens.
And it happens.
There was no hesitation on my part whatsoever.
Thank
you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you tremendously. We were talking a little bit about how we are similar, just in terms of the journey and just the energy. And so like I get emotional just having you in this space. The energy is just really freaking fantastic. Would you like to form an alliance? Yes, Mel, great. Like that. Yes. It was
yes. I would.
Yes, I would. Yes, correct. I look rested even though I'm not. Girl, I know. Yeah. Is Karla Episcopal? We're going to get to that in just a second, Justina Babina. And I'm going to I'll let Rev Karla introduce herself to you guys. Because here's my introduction to her. Sandy said, oh my God, Rev Karla was in your live. I said, okay, because I don't know who that is. And then I watched a couple of videos and I was like, she's my kind of people. She's my people. And then it was an instant follow back and just an exchange of awesome energy. And then I go, and y'all know me, I tend to follow my nudges. I follow my gut. And so I got this nudge that just said, do a live on the weaponization of religion, specifically Christianity, the impact on society, the impact on policy, on politics, and then see if Rev Karla wants to join. And I was like, I could do that. And literally when she says no hesitation, she was literally like, and there you go. And now here we are. Right. So I appreciate you guys getting in here. Do me a favor, folks. Make sure that you throw the love over to the guest today. Yeah, she is beautiful too. And don't worry about me so much. Hello, Raja. And so that is so those are some of our friends from Pally. So on Friday, we will do another Pally live, which is why this is up here. By the way, you like this little?
Awesome. I do. I love that. I absolutely love it.
I thought that was a good little
something like that for the front of my book. I wanted something, and it didn't pass.
Gritty, yeah. So this is what I was like. That represents. Hey, Jared, good to see you. So Jared is actually running for Congress. Kudos to you for. I was interviewing him with Lisa and them the other night, and I mentioned to him that we were doing this because I specifically had questions about religion and politics and how did he feel and whatever. And he was like, I'll pop in, and sure enough, here he is. So I love that.
Hi, Jared.
Man of his word. Okay. So, all right. So, if you want to go ahead and take a second, introduce the folks to you,
sure.
and share them a little bit about yourself.
So hi to everyone who's here. I am so honored to be here. If this is the first time you're seeing me, I am Rev Karla. I've been on TikTok since about 2020. It was one of those things where my grandkids said, you have to get over there and start teaching. And within a couple of weeks, I had gone viral with a video where I was talking about what it meant to be spiritual but not religious. And a little bit about me. I was raised Southern Baptist. And along the way, I just found myself always navigating through different denominations. I think it came down to the God experience that I was looking for was something that Christianity was not going to be able to provide for me. I felt like this God experience was in a box that was too small. And in hindsight, I can look back at that and see it, but at the time I didn't. And what I kept running up against is what we now know is Christian patriarchy. And how often I was in places where, women's voices are silenced, suffocated, and oftentimes the narrative is controlled by those in power to ensure the power stays with the white Christian man. I know that's not everybody's experience. But anyway, I ended up leaving church after a really, really bad experience. And I didn't know I was leaving church forever. I was looking for other churches, but again, kept finding those same experiences until I landed in seminary. So I had felt like you felt that nudge.
Yeah.
I felt the nudge to seminary, and I was in my late 40s, early 50s. I'm 64. So, I'm a late, it took me a long time to kick some of this off of me because I'm a child of the 60s. So when you think of as a boomer, how much we are impacted by that white Christian patriarchal culture, and how much I always wanted to be obedient to it, and how much I felt flawed if I wasn't being obedient to it. Like there was something wrong with me. So it took me many years to start decoding that and peeling back those layers. So ultimately I ended up in seminary, but I ended up at an inner spiritual seminary. So interfaith means that there is a respect and honor for all the world traditions who are looking for something that's beyond our human experience, beyond our human understanding.
Yeah.
Inner spiritual says that spirituality can and does exist outside of organized religion. And at the time, I didn't realize how important that was going to come for me until I started to realize that I was comfortable being unchurched. I still held on to my Christian identity because, and this is where we can get into some of the talk about extremist Christianity and some of what we're seeing right now. I've been constantly at conflict with my religious heritage, a lot of times because Christians often saw my journey as being heretical, and I was told that a lot. But that would impact some of what I was unpacking and untangling from. But one time I found a speech from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that he had given in the 50s, where he talked about Christians needing to be more non-conforming. Like he needed people, what he was trying to do at that time, now I can't speak for him, but if you go back and you read that sermon, he was creating a well for sacred activism inside Christianity, which is why, of course, he ended up creating the Southern Christian Conference, because he needed to show that spirituality and Christianity and activism can all come together. But that label, non-conforming, stayed with me for a really long time. I had the honor in 24 of being able to speak as a non-conforming, unchurched Christian for Christians for Kamala. So we were just talking about this. And I was so honored because nobody on that panel knew who I was. You're talking about some big names. Cory Booker spoke that night. And here I am, this person that only the people on TikTok who on social media know. And I got to speak. But after her defeat, I was really having a hard time holding on to that. And a lot of it is because of the people who, if you allow me to use a very Christian term, who I shepherd, who I tend to, who I offer spiritual care to, are the people who church has hurt most. Yeah. And that has created the following that is mostly unchurched, spiritual but not religious, spiritually curious, spiritually private, spiritually independent, and content with that.
Yeah.
But also, like I said earlier, honoring this mystical path of who our Jesus was, but no longer beholden to any of the toxic theology because of its links to our past and certainly what it has done to our country. I admire people who stay beholden to it if they feel like they can do the work from the inside. I simply cannot. And it didn't benefit me anymore to hold on to it. I needed to take a stand and advocate for so many of those who have been harmed. And so that made my decision easy after the election to be able to separate myself. So now I very much embrace my interfaith, interspiritual, ministerial role, and also my spiritual but not religious path. And so that's who I am, and that's like a chapter that I condense it as much as I can.
I love helps. It. No, it helps. It's very similar. The past. It's funny. As soon as you said Southern Baptist, I was like, yeah. I know that club. I know that club. And I know the difficulty in unpacking and what does that look like? And it's so funny. The place where I used to be is so different from who I am right now in this moment. And letting it go. So there was like so when I got separate and I was going through my divorce, it did not matter that he was the one that committed infidelity. It didn't, like, none of that mattered. All I knew was, oh my gosh, God is mad at me. I have failed. And I mean, I went through the whole, like, prefer him. You know what I mean? You are the wife is submissive. Listen, if he's not leading, it's because you've got too much spice. Like all the things.
Yeah.
All the things that are so dramatically hurtful. They are really hurtful to women. And they were coming to me from the other women in the church, right? From the pastor's wife, from the deacon's wife, now, of course, a couple of years later, when it found out that the pastor was actually having an affair with the worship leader, it made sense to me. But at the time, these were things that I did not know, and the thing that is so difficult is because you begin to kind of separate, okay, if this thing that has been so beautiful to me at some parts in my life, if that thing isn't really that thing, what does that mean? Like, who am I if this thing that is supposed to be so amazing and has been so good to me in some ways has also been so destructive and intentionally utilized to cause harm? What does that say about all of it, like the core of who I am, right? And it leads you on this very challenging path. And when you first, like, I wouldn't pray. Literally for 2 years, I did not pray. I was convinced. I was like, if I walk into church, I'm going to spontaneously combust.
Oh my gosh, you said just like me.
I did. That was the place I was like, I am going to. People would say, oh my gosh, this is like 10, 12 years ago. People were like, oh my gosh, I could see you on Oprah, back when Oprah had a show. And all I used to keep saying to people was, from your lips to God's ears. Because I felt like maybe if God heard them say it, he would want to do it for me, because he definitely wouldn't want to do it for me, right? Because how could he? I was not in church. I was not who I used to be. I wasn't doing women's Bible study, and I wasn't doing youth Bible study, and I wasn't doing all of those things. I wasn't even married to the same person anymore. You know what I mean? And I was back to cursing like a sailor, which I'm quite happy with, by the way.
Me too, believe it or not. I don't do it here. But you just asked my daughter, who does a lot of my social media. I can do it. I can do it. I was born in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of a Southern sass that comes out, but I try to contain her.
I don't. I let her rip at this point. At this stage of the game, I just let it rip. It's a thing. But no.
Sure.
And so what I found now is that now that I'm out, and that's what it feels like. You know what I mean? As best as I could imagine, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Now it feels like,
Yeah, for
okay,
sure.
so now you're just going to see me for exactly who I am. And I'm unapologetic because I know what I believe. I know why I believe it. It's not attached to anybody's external expectation of me. You cannot convince me I'm burning in hell and that Jesus doesn't love me.
There you go.
You can't. There's just no
There you
way.
go.
Jesus and I are like this, right? And so are me and like, I don't know, Buddha and and the Dalai Lama and whoever else, like
Yeah.
whoever. We're like this. And
Barbara, just for your question, Hodgenville, Elizabethtown, Bardstown, all that area.
I love that.
One of the things I think that, and even though that you have been able to deconstruct a lot of what that lack of self-worth is, what this is also, this conversation is evoking a lot of emotion because of the grief we carry.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us saw ourselves. I certainly didn't. I knew that I come from a long line of Southern Baptist preachers. I knew I had the gift. I knew I could minister to people. I knew I was an educator. I knew I could see things and put bridges together and teach things to people. I never saw this. I never wanted it.
Yes.
So, but when you also start to awaken to what patriarchy has caused, the harm it causes, you're either going to have to deny it and go back to sleep to stay obedient and compliant, or you're going to have to break through and deny something of yourself.
Right.
So then you understand the indoctrination, because basically all of that indoctrination intends to keep you small and silent and silenced, as Oprah said. That very much can, and then the whole thing of a self-worth. I remember the first time I went into a church and a woman was preaching. I literally thought I was going to walk out on that 85-degree sunny day and be hit by lightning. And I'm an adult. I'm in my 30s, and I thought, this is it. It's over. I'm listening to a woman preach. Now you can see how far I've come from that place.
Yeah.
And then it's fast forward even a couple years later. I don't know if you know who John Shelby Spong is. So he was an Episcopalian priest. He wrote things like Christianity must change or die. I hid the cover of that when I was reading it. I very much was still in church, but I'm reading these books and hiding them.
Yeah.
Jesus for the non-religious. Those are the two that really changed my life. Well, he came to our town to speak, and I hid to go watch him. I snuck off, my stepdaughter and I, to watch him, but we were terrified.
Yeah.
We left there thinking we're going to get hit by a bus. Something's going to happen.
Okay.
Have been there.
So, have you ever read Gary Zukav's The Seed of the Soul?
No.
Okay, so let me just say this: neither have I past chapter 2, and I'll tell you why. Even all these years later, it's on my bookcase right now. But I'm reading it, and in the second chapter, he starts to talk about karma, right? And he starts talking about how we don't finish, like when we die, all of our karma hasn't caught up with us, right? And he says, this is why sometimes, he said, just think about it like this. You see a really horrible person, but really good things are happening to them. And you're like, what in the world? Like, how is this horrible person having this really great experience? And he's like, well, because in their past life, in their other life, they did really great things. And that karma didn't have a chance to fulfill itself in that life. So I went to this life and I went, oh, that makes sense. And as soon as I said in my head, oh, that makes sense, girl, I threw the book across the room. And I was like, I'm going straight to hell. I just said I believe in reincarnation. What the fuck is wrong with me? Like, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to hell, right?
That's great. Yeah, for sure.
But it was that whole experience. And now I've progressed. So I'll share, and some of my followers that have been with me a while, they've heard me share this, but I'll tell you what happened. Same Matthew Raja. So years ago, and when I say years ago, I'm talking about like the early 2000s, late 1999, like 2000s. And so there was a woman that used to come from South Africa. Her name was Carrie Salvi, prophetess. Love her. She's deceased now, but loved her then, love her now, love her energy, love everything. And she would come and she would talk. And I will never forget. I was sitting, it's three section theater. I'm sitting in the far left, about 6 or 7 rows back with my then husband at the time. And she comes over to me and she says, you're like a kid in a candy store. You're like, oh, I want a little bit of this. I want a little bit of that. I want a little bit of this. And at the time it made 0 sense to me because I was the least variety candy person you could imagine. I was neck deep in church. And so, but to be where I am today, she's right. I have a Bible over here. I have sage over here. I have some crystals over here. I literally designed an oracle deck myself called the Connect deck. It's a meditation and mindfulness deck.
How impressive! I don't know if you can see my James Baldwin candles back there.
Yep.
I thought I had crystals back. Oh yeah, my big. I don't even know what that's called. Somebody gave it to me. I get so many things.
Yes.
Oh, wow. My amethyst is behind the. If y'all had listened to Black Women, so I feel like that's really good energy.
Yes,
that's
if y'all had
really
not listened.
good energy right there.
So this is like what it. I actually started this when I was outside. I was camped outside of Holston Valley Medical Center. And I heard
you tell that story the other day. I was in tears.
Yes, ma'am.
Like,
yes, you can have a snack. But yeah, and so I did all the artwork for the book, right? And so it's literally called like the Connect deck. It's just, and so all of the artwork inside it, everything that I've written. What's funny now, because if I go to read it, I don't remember like writing it, if you will. Like I just know that I wrote it and that's all that I can tell you about it. But anyway, but I look at who I am today and I go, oh yeah, that totally makes sense now. I'm definitely a kid in a candy store. I take what resonates with me and I leave what doesn't, right?
That's spirituality. I mean, we used to be told that was church shopping or spiritual light. And again, the framework that you put around that is intended to have you question your dedication to your faith. Mm-hmm. And making that distinction. Thank you. Thank you all for the gifts. I'm just very much into this, and I'm very grateful for your kindness and your generosity. So thank you for that beautiful headpiece that just came up and all the wonderful gifts you are giving me. But that language, again, all of it is intended to when you think about the commitment to the indoctrination that Christian patriarchy puts inside Christianity, when you can extract yourself from that, you can see that there is very much a mystical path inside. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's a camera here too.
You're good. You're good.
You're good. Ow, I just hit my other computer. Your technology impresses me. So hello, all of you over there as well.
They're watching. Gumps just said it's so hard to picture these two women that I have only ever experienced as so much more progressive. Describe how they used to be W growth.
I know. Listen. I'm sure we both have the stories. I'm sure we both really have the stories.
Yeah.
But today over on Substack, I posted something. I don't know if you've seen the images of Trump ordering the fence around
the pool.
The pool. And that to me is a perfect visual representation of the level of commitment that Christian patriarchy puts into a narrative, because he has been enabled from Daddy Trump to Ivana to Marla to Melania and now the Christian nationalists, that he has to keep this facade going. He has to double down, even though everyone can look at this and see it's insane. Even the people who will protect that and defend it know it's a lie.
Yes.
They know it's a lie. So whether you are in church, whether it's the abusive father, whether it's the abusive pastor, whether it's the abusive president, Christian patriarchy will always create a narrative that will protect that man. People will say, talk about protecting the white Christian man. It's not about a true Christian, it's about using the power that Christian patriarchal structure gives you. And Trump knows how to bring that in to his orb and use it masterfully.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is. So now he's putting a fence up because he's created a narrative that started with a 200-foot gash that someone did. Now it's up to 500 feet.
Right.
And it just keeps going.
Even though it was a surface that a knife couldn't penetrate, and all of a sudden it was in fact a knife, maybe a box cutter, and
so anybody who was raised in that, you are always going to come up against yourself.
Yes.
Sometimes you are your worst enemy, and I am the worst. Negative self-talk, I can't do this. I don't deserve this. I am constantly fighting my self-talk. Even today at 64 years old, that still impacts me.
So you know what I said? So this is the thing. I said, it's no wonder that we all have issues with self-worth and self-love. If you think about it, we are sinners, but only saved by grace. We are a wretch that was saved, right? We start out from the time that we are babes in the church being told how worthless, sinful, and horrible we are, except for Jesus. And dear God, it's only if you do Jesus the way everybody thinks you ought to do Jesus. Other than that, you don't get it, right?
Yeah, and if you don't accept him, then you're going to burn in hell.
100%.
You have to accept the date.
Yes.
You have a choice. You're going to burn in hell. And there's the fear-based theology, the prosperity gospel, which again, talking about, if you want to get into conversations about Paula White,
we can.
You tell me where you want to take this, because
I jotted down notes.
Oh, well, let me tell you, I told my husband a while ago, I said, I've got 37 pages or I told my son, I said, I've got 37 pages of note. He goes, Mom, that's too much.
He doesn't understand. We will rock this thing. We'll be here till tomorrow together, just like rocking it out.
And I think I was a little excited. I love that. Excited. And what you made me do with this live is force me, in a good way, to put together my notes that I have that are related to, even if you just start back and talk about the moral majority and come through to today, and then you're looking at what's happening with, most people talk about Peter Thiel and his association with Palantir, but let's talk about Peter Thiel, the Catholic.
Can we?
And and JD Vance and what's happening
and Kevin Roberts, the Catholic.
Yes. I've heard you have a whole other novel on that, what he did with his studies, his doctorate degree and his doctoral studies. I had no idea about any of that. Yeah. So that 37 pages is just basically the outline. I haven't inserted all the other things. But the other thing that you are so good at is, and I'd have to figure out how to do it myself, but I do have there's books that we read about activism, like everybody by now, I hope. And that's the thing about your following as well. They are so informed. I know that there's people here who probably might not know some of the things that we're talking about. But like you said, that you watched together Bad Faith.
Yep. And I told everybody to watch it today before tonight.
Oh, good.
I told everybody when I was on earlier, and I was like, go watch Bad Faith before you come back at 7:00 tonight.
Good, because I was going to suggest some books, because of course, you've got your How Fascism Works and those kinds of books, which are all very important. But if I were going to pick some
just
books,
just
a couple. Yeah. Then I thought, well, I didn't include Power Worshippers and I didn't include the Evangelicals, but this is just a basic list. But there is a book, it's a short read called Bad Faith. So it goes along with the documentary. It's only like 120 pages long. If you're interested in reading that, this is an easy read. I'm going to say that one. This one, The Violent Take It by Force by Matthew Taylor. Now, there's also a podcast that's called Charismatic Revival Fury. Mm-hmm. this is gonna bring you where bad faith talks to you about Jerry Falwell, Paul Weyrich, the moral majority, how we got the religious right in, I guess, from the 60s and 70s. This is going to take you into how we got to the next level. So when you think of moral majority really kind of losing its influence in the 80s during the Reagan eras, the late Reagan, then you have this coming in, and he's going to talk to you. He's even going to talk to you about Paula White. He's going to talk to you about Peter Wagner. He's going to let you know. Now, this is something I cannot say on my my account anymore. So I'm going to assume I can't say it here. But if you take the word CAR as an acronym, CAR, and replace the C with an N, NAR. I don't think I can say it, but here's the book, and I know it's going to be inverted here, and I'm going to give these copies to Dani.
Okay.
So we can put this on your link tree.
A New Apostle Reformation?
Yeah, I can't say that, so I'm not going to say it anymore.
Really?
It's interesting. Yeah, I have, if you don't see how much my account is throttled a little bit right now.
Yeah.
And every time I say this, I get pinged. Now, I do have a playlist where I talk a little bit about it, and I make the connection to Opus Dei, which is the faction of Catholicism where you're going to find Peter Thiel, Leonard Leo, who is like the person who handpicked all SCOTUS.
Yes. The Federalist Society.
There you go. There you go. So you know where we're.
Oh, I know, good Leo.
Yes. Then let's talk about where I want to spend time is trying to understand how they all are getting along.
Yeah.
Because when you think of Doug Wilson, does everybody know who Doug Wilson is?
My folks do. For those of y'all who do not know, Doug Wilson is Pete Hegseth's pastor. They have schools even. His children go there. Doug Wilson is crazy work. So is his wife, Nancy.
Yes. So if you look at Doug Wilson, but then you have Paula White over here, who's this mega pastor, prosperity gospel preacher, basically Trump's confidant.
Yes.
You know there's a conflict there because Doug Wilson doesn't believe any woman is qualified to be a pastor. Then you have Pete Hegseth canceling Catholic services for Easter Sunday. Then you have J.D. Vance at the Memorial Day service doing the small cross. There's all this intersection and a lot of tension.
Yep.
I would love to understand a little bit more about that. And some of it's going to be just trying to I think that's where the conflict's going to end up being. It
is 100% there already. So back when I was on X a couple of years ago, back in 2024, Lev Parnas, the dude that went to, okay. So Lev was on X. He was on a panel. Somehow I ended up getting on the panel and talking, and I was asking questions. And I said, Lev, here's my take. And you just let me know if I'm on or whatever. And I said, here's what I think. I said, I think that there are different factions, if you will. You have the Christian nationalists, which has lots of different little factions in it. You've got your tech bros, your corporate, whatever guys. You've got your Christian Zionists. You've got your white supremacists. Like you've got all these little factions, and all of them support this one individual, Donald Trump, because he can be the vessel for their agenda. The problem is that their agendas don't all coincide with each other. And so they're using, because they want to get in that position, but once they're in there, there's no way that it's all going to cohesively work together. And
there's not. But even if you go back to like the beginning of the moral majority, because Paul Weyrich, who is the founder of the Heritage Foundation, and who is also a Catholic, he was a Catholic. Jerry Falwell he was not an evangelical. He was a fundamentalist. Now, for those of you, do you know the difference between a fundamentalist Christian and an evangelical Christian? Because at first, Jerry Falwell was a independent Baptist. And look at that. That's so cute. Thank you. That was so sweet of you. So fundamentalist fundamentalists believe that the Bible is inerrant, like a lot of Christian denominations do, but they believe that you have to take it for its word literally. Mm-hmm. So everything that is written basically in the King James Bible is 100% true, pure, non-negotiable.
Yes.
So they're not even going to pretend to be welcoming to the LGBTQIA plus community. Correct. They do not want you to darken your door. If you are divorced, there's a chance that you aren't going to be invited. There's certain criteria just to get in the door of a fundamentalist church. So the evangelical churches, now you might have evangelical fundamentalist churches, and you may have different kinds, but an evangelical church that just considers itself an evangelical is going to focus on salvation. So those are the ones who will go out and give free coffee, free donuts, whatever they can to stop people on the street and ask you, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? If you die today, do you know where you're going to spend eternity? Those kinds of things. And then they're going to count you among the saved if you at that time accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you confess that to the person who has stopped you. So they don't necessarily believe that you have to be baptized. Now, there are other denominations that say you have to be baptized. That's not even a valid baptism, which is why I ended up being baptized twice, because the Christian church I went to in high school, all I wanted to do was volunteer for Vacation Bible School. And so but they would not let me until I was baptized, because I had been baptized as a Southern Baptist. And I'm inside, you think about all these places where I'm going, this is so stupid. But guess what? I did it because all I wanted to do was do one of the puppets.
There are people in here that are literally saying, I was kicked out of church for being divorced. And we've seen all of this.
It's heartbreaking.
Yes. And okay, so to bring it all together and to kind of go where we want to go, because there's a lot.
I told you I could easily ping pong. Sorry about that.
Oh no, I can too, and that's perfectly okay. So this is my thing about where we are, and what I really want people to understand is whenever I start to talk about Christians and the weaponization of Christianity, inevitably there will be people who will say, but they're not real Christians. This is what people love to say. Yeah, but that's not really Christianity. And my point is, but it is. It is the religion of Christianity. It is not the teachings of Jesus Christ. But when we talk about, for me anyway, when we talk about the man-made religion of Christianity, it is in fact the white supremacist patriarchal organization that has been utilized to absolutely control and do horrendous things to people. Yeah. And that's why, so like I told you earlier, this guy was like, this host is not a Christian. And I was like, correct. This host is a follower of the teachings of Jesus Christ. Yeah. I do not subscribe to the religion, to the man-made religion of Christianity that is intentionally being utilized to cause harm. And let me ask you this. How many of you guys were not able to watch the documentary Bad Faith yet? How many of you all have not watched it? Throw a 1 in the chat for me if you have not watched it. Let me see what you got. No worries, Chris. No worries. Look at all these ones. Okay. So I marked a couple of things, and I want to play some audio for you real quick.
You are impressive. You are just impressive.
Aren't they good?
Yes.
Okay. So check this out. This is a clip from Bad Faith. I'm not going to play all of it, but we're gonna listen to Jerry Falwell just for a minute, and I'm gonna let Jerry Falwell tell you what he thinks about racism and about color when it comes to Christianity. You ready? Here we go. I think.
For decades and decades, there has been a strain of Christian nationalism in the American popular consciousness. But it seems to reemerge during times of intense cultural and political conflict, especially when those who have traditionally been in power, white, conservative Christian men especially, feel like that power is threatened.
Which is where we are right now.
I think it is one of the tragedies of our nation that 11 o'clock on Sunday morning is one of the most segregated hours in Christian America.
That's Martin
Any
Luther King
church
Jr.
that stands against integration and that has a segregated body is standing against the spirit and the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Correct.
Good morning.
This is Jerry.
I'm Jerry Falwell, pastor here. Isn't it grand to be a Christian?
Jerry Falwell, like many other white evangelical leaders, claimed segregation was biblical and refused to integrate.
My, what a wonderful looking congregation. I didn't say a wonderful congregation. I said a wonderful looking congregation.
I just want y'all to catch that. Not a wonderful congregation. This is a wonderful looking congregation because it was all white. And this is the part where I want us to get to right now, because a lot of people believe that the Christian movement within the Republican Party came as a result of Roe v. Wade. It was a response to Roe v. Wade. And in fact, it was in response to Jerry Falwell losing his tax-free exempt status because he did not want to integrate his university. And this is what I really want you all to understand, is that it is not about AB. It is about having to integrate and allow Black and brown people into your space, including the house of God. And so if we could start right there, and then we can walk forward a little bit.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, because one thing I forgot to mention is that 99.9% of the time, fundamentalists are going to be exactly what you heard Jerry Falwell say. And going back to your original point, which was the people who say, well, they're not real Christians, that has been a problem all along. That Christianity has a racist problem that we have been taught to say that our only responsibility is to separate ourselves from them. Instead of looking at, thank you for the crown, instead of looking at what our responsibility is to dispel it. And that especially falls on the white Christians, because we have been complicit in it. And this is where the uncomfortable truth lies. And I can say this from my own experience, from going from from fundamentalist churches to evangelical churches, from Southern Baptist into progressive churches. I saw it in all of them. Some of the worst homophobia and racists and misogynoir I saw inside progressive churches. So, and a lot of times, and that is something that your beliefs, your theology does not protect you from it.
Right.
It's not enough to be sitting inside a church that you think practices, even if it's an activist church, it's not enough. There has to be a way to educate what it looks like, to educate ourselves and extract ourselves from the privileges that white Christian patriarchy has afforded those that look like me. And we can talk all day about the harm it caused, because I have been harmed. But I cannot extract myself from the fact that it also affords me privilege. Even today, it affords me privilege because of how innately it is driven, not only in the churches, but then how that permeates out into our civic structures, which is why when you look at this book that I called I'll try it, NAR. If you don't know what that is, you can just put it in under Christian theology and you'll be able to read more about that. And again, this book goes into deep, the violent take it by force. This book goes into it a lot. And you really do need to understand it to understand the Christian nationalism of today. But that's the reason why they are very much committed to the 7 Mountain Mandate and that influence of those 7 spheres, which actually are 8. So I'll try to arts and entertainment, business, education, family, government, media, and religion. But now when you look at like the National Day of Prayer, which was started by the group, The Family, So you can go back into the 50s and you can watch the Netflix, The Family. There's a book called The Family. So you start to see all these little infiltrations that extend beyond the moral majority. But the National Day of Prayer, it was about, they included the military in there. So look what's happening inside Trump. So they believe that because Christian patriarchy is so prevalent inside our society, that Christians should be the ones running those spheres of influence.
Yeah.
And so how do you do that? Well, that's not just evangelical churches. That's not just fundamentalist churches. That's because the person who is indoctrinated to believe this is sitting in the pews beside you.
Yeah.
In your progressive church. They're just not talking about it. And the pastors often aren't doing enough. And again, this is the part, even though I no longer am in church, I actually do more to talk about what Christianity could do to save itself than sometimes the actual pastors do.
100%.
Because this is going to end up killing it.
Yeah.
And when you go back and you read Bishop Spong's book, Christianity Must Change or Die, and you put it with what's happening today, it absolutely is true. The framework is flawed. It goes back to the Crusades. We don't talk enough about that as being part of our heritage to come back to today and say, what is our responsibility to extract from Christian patriarchy?
Yeah.
And so, I want to show you two other books. And again, I'll give you these titles. I don't know if you've read A Fever in the Heartland.
Okay.
This is about the 1920s rise of the men in the white sheets. And why this is important is because a lot of times we talk about how fascism shows up. This showed up in Indiana. We were this close to somebody, the grand person being the president of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
We don't realize. So this history is fascinating. You can tell. I absolutely love this book.
Yes.
So if you are interested, and again, like I said, I'll give you those. The names.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah. So, and I love the fact that everybody is chiming in. So there are questions that people have. And I'm want to do a time for Q&A. Mods, can you do me a favor? When you see questions, can my mods kind of jot them down for me so that I can come back and grab them? Gumps, I see you on YouTube with your question as well. So one of the things for me is I've reached this place. You and I were talking before, like in 2007, 78% of the country identified as Christian. In 2024, it was 62%. It is fast declining. And the place where I have come to, and this might not be popular, but you know the book where it says Christianity Must Change or Die? I am ready for the institution of Christianity to absolutely die. Like, go into that good night, have a good rest. I'm okay with it. Take the patriarchy with you. Leave me. And so one of the things that I say, I love it when I have somebody who wants to talk to me about Christianity or about Jesus. Please, by all means, get up on. And I hope you, and they really love it because they're like, yeah, I know. And I'll say, okay, so do you have your Bible? And did you bring your Strong's Concordance? Because if you really want to have a conversation with me, I hope you brought your Strong's with you. And then they go, oh, what? And I go, see, you don't know what you think you know. Yeah, you don't know what you think. Because when I say I was neck deep in church. But when I think about it, and what I keep saying to people is, when Jesus Christ himself was asked, what are the greatest of the commandments?
Mm-hmm.
He said two things. He said, one, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul, right? And then he said, and the second is just like it, and it is to love thy neighbor as thyself. And then he clarified it, just in case people didn't understand. He said, all the other laws and prophets rest on these two. And so for me, I always look at people and I go, listen, if you haven't mastered the first two, you have no business talking about any of the others. Don't talk to me about lust. Don't talk to me about AB. Don't talk to me about anything until you master how to love thy neighbor as thyself. But one of the reasons I think many people today have trouble, I think people do. love their neighbor as they love themselves, because I think most people don't love themselves.
Oh.
I do. I think people do love their neighbor as themselves because they do not love who they are. We have created a society where we tear ourselves all to pieces, right? We are wretches. We are this. We are that. We have substituted self-love with pride. Okay. And because of that, it leaves us in this disjointed, disconnected state of being. And it's no wonder we don't know how to love each other. We do not know how to love ourselves.
That's profound. Very true. That again, that I think that goes back to our indoctrination. And when you talk about the book, I'm forgetting her name. Perhaps it's, I don't want to say the wrong person, but I think it's Ali Stuckey. Is she the one that wrote about empathy being a sin? Maybe somebody who knows. I try to steer clear from that. I don't purposefully try to engage with Christians that I disagree with. I'm not that kind of content creator. I really am trying to help people deconstruct and decolonize to the point where the way I see that is sometimes people can't see that they need to get over to the Black creators to learn what it really means to decolonize. So if I can kind of help pave that way to say that, now go on, get
on over there.
You're gonna be fine. It'll be a little painful, but you're gonna be fine.
You'll be okay. You will survive.
Just get on over there.
So somebody asked in the chat, they said, what is the greatest misconception around deconstruction? What would you say that is? What is the greatest misconception that you think people have around what it means to deconstruct?
Well, I'm going to cry. I don't know why that's going to make me cry.
And that's okay.
That we didn't try.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there are times where, I'll do posts on Sundays to help people because I know how I want to help you settle your soul. You're sitting there with your coffee or you're thinking about what you normally did. And my first couple of Sundays after leaving church, I was a wreck.
Yeah.
It was my life.
Mm-hmm.
My contact list, everything I did, is that we tried, like any one of us wanted this, mm-hmm. that we saw one of these days, I'm going to get back at them. That's not what this was. Uh-uh. I left church thinking I was going to hell.
Yep.
I was out of obedience. I just knew I was suffocating. Mm-hmm. And trusted myself enough, even though I didn't know it at the time, was trusting myself enough to know that something else existed beyond my mm-hmm. experiences. I had to believe that. Yeah. Then I think another misconception then is that we didn't try, but then that we wanted to become atheists. Like you can't, if you're not going to go to church, then you're just atheists.
Right.
Now, I know plenty of people who have deconstructed to atheism. And believe it or not, I'm friends with them. Oftentimes, I find some of the kindest people
100%.
in the world of atheism because they're not judging you for still looking for something beyond our human understanding and calling that spirituality.
Right.
And even though I no longer believe in that patriarchal, angry, vengeful God of my religious heritage, I still believe in some universal, divine, mystical existence that somehow exists beyond us. And I don't have enough human words. I don't think we have enough words to describe it.
Right.
But just because the way we are judged for then wanting to come and help other people who are doing the very same thing of deconstructing, because for so long you just left quietly, but now we have community and we have ways to help each other and tell our stories. That is the offense. That is the offense to people who are still churched. So I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions.
I think that sometimes I feel like people that are still churched.
Hi, Happy Heather. Sorry, I just recognized the name. Hi, dear soul.
Yeah, I think that sometimes the people that are still churched aren't upset with those of us who aren't churched because we're unchurched. It's because we were brave enough to do the thing that they haven't been able to do yet.
Ooh, goosebumps.
That's what I think is that most of the time it's that people are upset that you have been brave enough to challenge the thing that they have not been brave enough to do. You know, I can remember being married. And for those of you guys who do not know, so I'm service-connected disabled veteran. I've had 4 surgeries all on my right knee. The biggest one, they cut me open like 8 inches. I was on crutches for 11 weeks. I did physical therapy for 2 months. I'm not supposed to be able to do a lot of what I do now, but still I hurt a lot. And I can remember being told, like literally, you know, because they love to love on you in front of the whole church. And I can remember being told in front of the church, right, that the reason that God had not healed me was because I did not have enough faith. And after being, you know, rebuked and kind of chastised in front of everyone, and this is the girl. So listen, you all don't understand. This is the girl that literally has like prayed, laid hands on herself, and then tried to get up and do things that she physically couldn't do to activate the faith. Like this was the girl. And I can remember going to my pastor after that and saying, okay, I have a question about the thing that you just said to me about like not having enough faith, because tell me how that worked for Job. Because Job had a ton of faith. Like God said that Job was pretty much perfect. And Job cried and asked for things. And he did not get it until it was whenever it was. So explain it to me. I need to understand. Well, all I know is what the word says. And all I know is this is what it said. And this is what this is. And this is when I got told, well, you just have too much seasoning. And yeah, you just have too much seasoning. Yeah. And that was the thing that my pastors always felt challenged by at the time when I was in church, is because I was well, make it make sense to me. I'll never forget when after my ex-husband had his affair, and I'm sitting in my pastor's house and I'm talking, and his wife is sitting beside me, and he proceeds to tell me, listen, now you know you've always been stronger than him, and you know, and Paul says that God uses the strong to bring up the weak. And I said, well, first of all, Paul was talking about the church of Corinth, not marriage, and Paul's ass was single. So tell me what David did. Because Paul was not talking about marriage, and his wife went, I'm going to get up and get something to drink. Would you like something to drink? And she went to the kitchen, right? But it is the misrepresentation and the use of scripture to manipulate us and to like, but you know what I'm saying? And it's this whole idea. And I think about what that journey has been like. And I don't know how many of you all get this, right? But when it is like, when you know it, so here's what I believe about where I am right now. I can remember being a little girl, and I remember being 11 years old, and I could have been in the choir box on a Sunday morning and just feeling compelled. Like if I was being just lifted up out of the choir box to go to the altar and just cry. I can remember it like that, right? Always have had this thing, but it's that same thing that draws me to pick up a rose quartz. It's the same thing that draws me to, it's the same feeling. And so for me, what I know is that's the God in me for me. And I can't speak for anybody else, but the moment that it all made sense to me was the moment I stopped looking for God outside of myself and understood that every ounce of God that I ever need is in me. And there's nobody else that can give it to me.
You're a preacher.
No, that's what they used to say too.
You're a preacher.
But
preacher, teacher, educator, empower. I mean, it's all, again, when you hear someone like preach it the way you were just preaching, you can understand why they fear women.
Yeah, they do fear us.
Because there is, I have never heard a man preach a sermon that was about empowering you to find that strength
within you
or believe in yourself. It was always about relying on something outside of you that required the conduit through the church.
Yes.
And that's what you just did. And I'm seeing all the people that are affirming everything that you just said to them, because you can feel that. It's that affirmation that you cannot, something about you cannot be flawed or broken or a mistake or a sin or a heathen or a heretic or even a Jezebel, because you are a force for good.
Yeah.
What you're doing, and even your life story, and you got to write a book. I mean, I've heard some of the things that you have said, but first of all, we're having church. Yes, thank you. I think we are, Heather.
We do that sometimes.
But that is, yes, it is the Dani effect. But those words are so important for people to hear and understand, that you're just not saying that to preach them about extracting something from them, but pouring into them to make them understand that not only do I believe it, I live it.
Yeah.
I am living this.
This is the thing that if I could tell people, like, this one thing is to drop every single label that there is, right? For real. You and I talked about this before. I love Brene Brown. And so she talks about the fact that she said most of us are just who life makes us, right? We know why we are the way we are. It's because of all the things that happen to us. Okay. But she says very few people stop and create themselves. Like, who do you desire to be in this life? And so I knew why I was the way I was in my 30s. And I was justifiable in being who I was, right? If I cussed you the fuck out, I was justified in being that way because of all the things that had been done, all of the trauma that I experienced, all of the people that hurt me or that abused me or that left me or that did not see the absolute horrendous, like, just goodness in me. All of you deserve for me to just cuss you out, right? And I knew, and so I was justified. But then the time came to be when I asked myself, but is this who I want to be? Is this who I want to be? I don't want to be her. I do not want to be the person that can cut you with both sides of my tongue. I want to be the person that heals you with my words, right? That's who I want to be in every circumstance, as much as I can. It doesn't mean you might not get cussed out, because you might, but I'm a human being, but that's who I desire to be. And the thing is, once you figure that out, once you figure out for sure who you desire to be in this life, and you give it determines how you show up. It determines what you say. It determines what you do. And it makes you unshakable, even in breaking environments. And like, that's the key for me. I want to be unshakable, even in breaking environments. And that has to be me knowing. And what I want everyone to know is that part of them, so that when you know that, you can't tell me shit, not because I'm whatever, but because I'm whatever. And now that I know, I can't unknow it. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. Now I'm also going to just put a bookmark here, because a lot of people liked my idea of you writing a book, and I want to say, because I want to tell you something. Let me say, what did you say? From my mouth to God's ears.
From your lips to God's ears.
So I used to do Bible studies at my house, and I would have women over when I was in the Word. And I did the Priscilla Shire, and I did Joyce Meyer, I did Beth Moore, I did them all. And there was a woman in one of the Bible studies who said that I would write a book someday. And so it's interesting, because I did. It's called Deconstructing. I think about that moment, and I don't speak to that person. I pretty much lost, my entire contact list cleared out the minute I left church. And,
which is crazy.
And then, but also then, when my beliefs were no longer tied, nobody had to mention Trump to know that that's the side you were supposed to be on. And so then I lost, family members, and I'm not the only one. I mean, people that you have to make a decision that you cannot poison your stuff. You can't be an advocate and still be in community with people who say the things and believe the things and do the things. You have to make those decisions. You have to cut those people out of your life. And some people cut me out. But I often wonder if she remembers that, if she knew I wrote a book. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to us. I'm just saying that was a real thing.
Yeah.
That was a real thing that I felt it. And when I heard you telling your story about your grandchild and what you did, I thought about the courage and the belief in yourself and what was right and true, and how that will feed generations of people. That story needs to be told. And what you just said, I mean, it's like every chapter, I've heard you tell several stories, I can't think of them now, where you've got a bookend that says this is the life lesson that came from that. So anyway, enough of that, but I'm just saying, Dani did, okay, Sacred, I'll have to go find out what that book
Okay,
is.
Okay, let me listen. Let me clarify the whole Dani wrote a book thing. Okay, so one of the things, Danielle is my middle name, and I go by Dani. And yes, baby.
I hear you, Chris.
Okay, I'll call her. And what I found was writing under my middle name gave me a freedom that I did not have under my first name, because my first name was where all the expectation and all of the desire to be obedient and all of that, she was tied to all of that. And so when I began writing in 2008 or so, I began writing under my middle name, and it gave me permission to say things that I could not say as my first name self. Right. Terry, it's in my link tree. It's the second link in the link tree. And so I started just writing what I called at the time, just like blogs. And then I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, and they were like, I went to like an open mic and was just reading, right? And I finished, and this dude was like, "Where have you been?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "You're a great poet." And I was like, "I'm not a poet." And he was like, "Girl, I don't know what you think you are, but yes, you are." And and so that led to, like, I don't know, a decade worth of doing some spoken word and competing in poetry slams and all these different things. Yeah, like for real. And I love my poet friends. But so that was like this phase. And so the first book that I ever wrote was The Rantings of Dani. It literally is just a collection of pieces. And you'll see that part of me is when I'm first beginning to digest and to figure it out. There's this whole other, now that I think about it, like y'all could find me on Spotify if you wanted to. I don't talk about these things. I do not talk about these things.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, on Spotify, it's just Dani the Poet, right? And you could just see me going through this journey. And it was just a work in progress. And so that's all the first book is. It's just this collection of these writings. And then go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go.
I didn't mean. Well, I got excited. So when I first started on social media, to my 500 followers on Facebook, yes, 500 followers on Facebook, and I was doing this from my prayer bench. Now that was real. I mean, I would sit on my porch with my tea. I would go quiet.
Dominic.
And just would get like this download. And that became my writing. Like, what is this? And I would be in tears and I would write this. So there's something there, like part of that breaking away. I saw somebody say maybe it was like an awakening or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I also saw somebody, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, who's been following me for a while, who has seen my transformation. And that you have seen my transformation, because I even go back to my 2020 videos that I won't share now. I don't recognize that person. Like some of the stuff is like, I don't use that language anymore. I could still see where the evangelical Christian centric language was still impacting me.
I'm gonna grab a
Or if
book.
I-
Keep talking. I can hear you.
Okay, or if I go back and I look at some of the writings, I'm like, ooh, Lord, I can't share this. I have to really clean this up for 2026 Karla. But one other thing that that your story has helped me, and one of the things I think I'm still dealing with is what does it mean to be vulnerable? And you mentioned Brene Brown, but I know this is definitely part of my indoctrination because I was very much influenced by the generation of children should be seen and not heard. So Karla shouldn't be heard. Even though I wrote about some of those personal experiences, I know it's time for me to talk more about them.
Yes. And
that is something. I mean, my face is flush. I become like,
yeah.
But I'm being pushed in that way, just like the writing those prayer bench writings did for me, and the portal that it created for me. What's coming next is, I don't know. Ashley, thank you.
It is gonna. So this is the thing. So I knew this the very first time I watched you. I was like, oh, that's my people. Like I know my people. I know my people energetically, hands down. It's wild to hear you talk about me because I just. So this is the thing. I still say this. So one of my friends, Natalie, and I talk, and I'll say, Natalie, I still don't feel like I've done anything yet. And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, I don't feel like I've done anything yet. She's like, well, what would doing something be? And I said, I don't know. I do not know, but I don't feel like I've done anything significant yet. And maybe it's great that I don't think that I've done anything yet. You know what I mean? Maybe it's great because maybe if I knew something different, I would do something different. But it doesn't feel like it. Like I don't spend time here. Like this is not a thing over here. But I could do it all day for other people. Like when you talk about the whole ballot health and the healthcare thing, what do you mean? There was no courage in me about that. There was no me going, oh, I believe I can do this. It was, how dare you take advantage of these innocent people? And all I know for sure is that is wrong. And so I'm gonna do whatever it is I get led to do. It has nothing to do with belief in me at all. It has just the belief of knowing this is such a wrong thing. I find that moral injury for me, that how dare you take advantage of simple people, trusting people who are giving you permission to represent them and all of that. Like how dare, like that's what that was for me. But probably I'm, you know me, I follow the nudges. And to give you an idea, okay, and I might cry. I might. This is when I was trying to figure out what deconstructing was going to look like for me. And if it wasn't going to be the Christianity that I'd always known, what was it going to be? And so this is a piece. It's the last piece in the first book that I wrote. And it's called The Silent Shouting of My Soul. This is not lost, not completely. Dissuaded, discouraged, discarded, absolutely. Can you hear the silent shouting of my soul? It screams to be found and brought back to life. It followed my heart into the deep, dark places of abyss created by the devastation of having to live my life. And now that it has left, it shouts, screams and cries out to be led back into the land of the living. it watches the joy of others and sadly reflects on the moments it no longer enjoys. Because while my soul is not lost and it can see, it does not trust enough to simply come back. You see, the destruction of my heart was really more about the dismemberment of my soul. It's trust that just out of a desire to do right, that things would be okay, made it vulnerable and susceptible to massive hurt and rebuke when the cruel irony of life attacked it. It's not that my soul doesn't want to reside with you. It's that it fears that somehow you will fail again. Although the idea that you failed at all is impossible, and my soul knows. And even though he failed and not you, all my soul knows is that we were trusting you, not him. And we were knocked backward, plummeled into an oblivious state of darkness by the fall. There's no easy recovery from something of that magnitude. And the fact that my soul still shouts, no matter how silent or soft, gives me assurance that it has not lost its way and that you are still listening. I have no promises to make. You already know the conflict of the thoughts, words, and actions taking place inside me. So I will make no grand statements, no profound arguments or timetables. I will instead only say that I am comforted by the silent shouting of my soul. It was just, where did you go? How did you fail? You know? Yeah, baby. It's so beautiful. You want to set? You want me to show? Mila says she colored, you guys.
Oh,
It's so
beautiful.
But it was that I was not trusting mankind. I was trusting God. Like that moment, it was the most obedient I'd ever been in my life in church. That time was the most obedient I'd ever been. You gave me guidance. You gave me instruction. I did it. And it tore my soul to pieces. And I was devastated. And it was like, I don't know how to be here. Right? I don't know how to be with this. And it was just that. It was this, all I know is it's not dead. Whatever that thing is in me, it's not dead because it's still crying. It's just silent.
Everyone who deconstructs needs to read that. Because the ones, like you said earlier, who are deconstructing are the ones who have that little spark of light that is pointing them on. They don't know why. Mm-hmm. They don't know how. They may even feel afraid and at failure, but something is pushing them on.
Yeah, it's just something. And I tell people it doesn't have to have a name. So like what I find for me is the language oftentimes is still the same because it's been the language my whole life, right? Mm-hmm. So like if I say God sometimes, it's still he, not because I think God is a he, but because that's just the language, right? Mm-hmm. But it's to know different. Yes, so Sacred said, I still feel like a failure. Yeah, it's that, right? It's that. It's like, why do we feel like deconstruction means you failed God?
Yeah. I think that we'll spend a lifetime deconstructing it. Yeah. That's why when I talk to people about, well, certainly decolonizing, but deconstructing is a path. It's fluid.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever stop. If you're growing and you have a commitment to growing, then you're always going to come up against a place where you were prevented from doing so and turned another way for someone else's benefit, someone else's gain. Mm-hmm. A narrative was placed on you, a false story. Limited beliefs were placed on you. We didn't just come with those. They somehow benefited someone that we then have to figure out at the core of this physicalness now, who are we?
Mm-hmm.
My two questions I continually ask myself is, who am I if I'm not what the church says I am? And what do I believe if I no longer believe what the church told me to believe?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what finally calmed me enough to say, well, then I need to get on a journey to find it, because I don't have the answers now. So what am I going to do?
Yeah. I hear that 100%, because there are things. So my pastor, the pastor I know my whole life, not the pastor from before, Reverend W.A. Johnson, he passed away in 2022, but he gave me the greatest gift before his passing. About 10 years ago, I went to see him, not quite 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I was home visiting and I went to see him, and I'll never forget. So listen, to say he was frugal is beyond. So our church was a nice sized church, but Rev never kept the heat on or the air on unless we was having church service, right?
Okay.
So he would come to church early to turn things on. And other than that, you would find him in the office with a heater or a fan on beside him, right? And so he's sitting in there with them little long legs and his little heater beside him. And he asked me, he says, so are you go to church now? And I said, no, Rev, I don't really go to church anymore. He said, huh? He said, okay. He said, so do you meditate? I said, I do. And he said, well, meditation's from the East. I said, surprise. So was Jesus, right? So was Jesus. Just throwing that out there. And he just kind of chuckled, right? And then he says, so, what are you thinking now these days about, religion and this, that? And I said, Rev, listen. I said, I don't have it all figured out. I said, but here's the thing. I have questions. And maybe one day I'll get to see Jesus and ask questions. And I said, but there are things that I just don't believe. I can't believe. I do not believe that people are going to rot in hell just because they love someone that is the same gender. I can't wrap my head around that. No matter how good they do, no how much love they share, no matter I cannot believe that one thing is just eternal damnation. I just can't get it. And he said, I got that. And I said, so, I take what feels right in my soul, in my heart, and then I leave the rest. And he said, and then I'll never forget this. He said, well, you've reached a place that most people don't get to until much, much later in life, if they get there at all. And he said, we pastors, we do the best we can, based on what we know and our interpretation and our walk. He said, but, we don't know everything. We just do the best we can. And he said, so, yeah, so you've gotten there real early too, and
what a blessing.
Right. He gave, it was that final piece, because for me, it was in stages. My bridge in deconstructing was a book by Wayne Dyer called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life.
Oh yeah. What wasn't he also the spiritual solution to every problem? There was a spiritual solution to every problem.
I don't know
think
that
that's the one of his. I think that's the one of his. I read covertly.
Covertly. Yeah. So
Covertly.
Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life was the bridge for me. And the reason why is, if you read that book written by him, it's his interpretation of the Tao, right? What he does masterfully is when he gives you his explanation and his interpretation of that verse. Sometimes he makes a reference to Jesus. Sometimes he makes a reference to Buddha. Sometimes he makes a reference to the poet Hafiz. And it's this intersectionality of all the different things. And he gave me permission to weave it together in a way that felt so right.
Thank you for that. It reminded me, I have not considered what he meant to me on my deconstructing path. I forgot about Wayne.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's a good one.
I had a 365-day affirmation from him that I read. I forgot about Wayne. Dyer.
That, and then The Shift. Did you watch The Shift on YouTube? His movie, The Shift.
I did. Yeah.
All of those were really big for me. So the two big books for me were Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, and then The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Oh, The Four Agreements, same. Now I have to say, with the shift, I wasn't ready. I was still trying to figure out what was wrong with me inside my religious heritage. So I was not ready for that, that knowledge, that wisdom. You know, when you were talking about that pastor, I thought about my grandmother was a staunch Southern Baptist. If the church doors were open, we were there. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Vacation Bible School. I was 10 years old in tent revivals. And the one thing, though, that there's a paradox or an irony or a heartbreak. I don't quite have the words for it, but when I think about the woman could preach the lights out.
Mm-hmm.
But because she was a Southern Baptist, she had the gift of what all of the male pastors in our lineage had done, but she could drive the church van. She could get people to and from Vacation Bible School. And so I was raised by the woman with the most limited beliefs. However, towards the end of her life, I was navigating through Christianity and wasn't attending a Southern Baptist church. And I had become an ordained elder in the Presbyterian church. And she asked me I actually put this in the foreword of my book. And she goes, well, what does it mean to be an elder? And I told her, I said, well, this is what I do. And this is why, and I did pray about it. And they came together at a ceremony. They laid their hands on me. It was very, very, very sacred event. And I very much felt honored to be a part of that leadership. And she goes, well, as long as it brings you closer to God. And that gift meant so much from a woman in her 80s towards the end of her life. But what your pastor was saying is very true, that many of us won't get there. And even he was getting there for you to say, many of us won't get there. And I'm not, that gift that she gave me was that to keep going, to keep trying, to keep exploring. Like, she validated, even though she couldn't see it for herself, she understood that something else was happening, and that she loved me enough to trust me that other things were going to happen in my life that she was not ever going to experience or be a part of. And I had that's a really, really important part, to find those people who are validating us in just those little segments that we may not understand. I love that. Spirituality can have many conduits. That's exactly right. And it's those little, I call them spiritual breadcrumbs. Like, how many places I was actually looking for ways to be affirmed that I wasn't wrong, or I wasn't being sinful, or I wasn't being flawed, because something else kept beckoning me beyond my understanding inside the framework of the Christian church. There was something else beckoning me to keep going forward, to keep asking questions. There you go. Questioning is a normal phase of faith formation. It absolutely is.
I think what's so beautiful is, I think the thing that has gotten you to where you are, it's not a pull away from Christianity. It is just a continuation of your journey, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes we think that the faith that we are born into or raised into or are living at the time, that's it. Like, that's the end of the spiritual journey. I found it. And that's just not simply the way that humanity tends to work, right?
Yeah.
If you are spiritually growing, right? That means I'm going to outgrow certain things. And sometimes that's not just that church, but it's certain beliefs, it's certain ideologies and all of those things. And when you come to understand them, and I think this is the grief that so many of us feel, and we're feeling it now about our country, right? I think many people we're not angry, we are grieving, because many people are realizing that that we are not who we thought we were. We are not who we thought we were. Yeah, baby.
And that's another point too. With in 2015, I was in seminary, and I know many of you will understand this as well. When you hear Trump's voice, like it just triggered me. I couldn't stand to look at him. I couldn't stand to watch him walk. I didn't want to see anything about him. I could not look at him. And here I am in seminary with all this rage inside me. So I reached out to one of my seminary sisters and I said, I got to work through this anger. I got to figure this out. What is it? And at the core of so much of what is at the core of anger is grief. Mm-hmm. And so she did some mirroring exercises with me that led me to see that the rejection of me and yet the acceptance of him inside a religion that I had given so much to.
Yeah.
That I had poured myself into, that I gave so much unpaid labor. I gave my faith. I handed over my spirituality and said, take care of this.
Yeah.
Take care of my soul. I trust you to do this. And I'm going to believe that it's for the good of me and good of the whole, good of the community. Mm-hmm. I exhausted myself trying to contort myself to be whatever it is they kept asking of me, demanding of me.
Yep.
And no matter what, I had the spirit of offense. I was never going to be that compliant Christian. And yet they accepted him with
just like
open arms. And I was so angry that it took me working through that to be able now to sit and look and study him, to be able to say, all right, I'm going to be able to take what just happened and use this as a teaching moment, because we got to get people awake and to understand you're being triggered because he wants you to fear that we do not have the power when we absolutely do. We are still the majority. Wake up. Come on. We know it's bad, but we are still the majority.
We are.
And we can together as a movement, as a wave, we can get from here to here.
Yes.
But the 2015 Karla was not ready for that. She was still great. And obviously tonight we both have had our times of tears. That grief then can become a motivator. It can become an energy that we can turn into something else. So even the rage can be a motivator. Mm-hmm. It still can be the focus that allows you to go to the next place. And what you're doing with the Project for the People is not only needed, it's necessary. And that collective action, that is what we have to do now. We have enough proof that this fascist overtake is bad. So what are we going to do to get past this? So as I look at your wonderful shirt that I need to order, that is absolutely the truth. We can't be paralyzed into believing that there is nothing we can do, because that is a limited belief that was put on us by Christian patriarchy, that if we're not going to be compliant, then we're going to be silent. We're not going to be a troublemaker. We may not agree, but we're not going to be a troublemaker. That is all Christian patriarch indoctrination. And sometimes I have to stop myself from that mindset too. Like, wait a minute, I'm not going to be compliant to this. Right. I want to see there are generations coming behind us that need to know these conversations happened. What were we doing in this moment?
Yes.
What were we doing?
Yeah.
When the fascists showed up and were trying to take over our country, what were we doing?
Yeah. And
that's spirituality. That's just as spiritual. That's just as sacred. Thank you again for the crown. Those actions are just as meaningful and holy as if you're sitting in church and praising Jesus. It's the same.
And more so, in my opinion.
Yes.
And more so because that's the work. Jesus wasn't sitting on a pew, right? He was out and he was advocating and he was doing the work for and with the people. And so like for me, that's the driver for me is I want to take all of it. The anger, the fear, the this, the that, and I want to channel it into action that actually does something. And people say, well, what if it doesn't work? Well, what if it damn does? And by the way, they don't sit around wondering, what if it doesn't work?
So go back that's why it's important to read this book, to see our nation's history. I didn't learn any about this in college. I didn't hear about this in high school, but it was the testimony of one woman. It was the testimony of one woman that stopped this movement. So Fever in the Heartland, Timothy Egan, the history of the resurgence of the men in white sheets in Indiana. Indiana that's where I am. It's our hold my beer state. Texas does something stupid. Indiana says hold my beer.
It's a hold my beer
state. What we can do here, because I am telling you, it's we are the definition of insanity, and we just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over.
And so there's other Indiana people here as well. So
yeah,
for those of you all,
there's Indiana people here, and it is that bad. Now we've got a lot of good blue dots here, and we're working hard, but it is bad. Governor Braun is terrifying.
This is what I tell people all the time. So words and so they laugh at me in my space because I'm a bit of a stickler about words, right? So one thing, so in my space, we don't say I'm scared or I'm worried, because there's massive energy attached to worry, right? That's a big, thick feeling word. So we just say, I'm concerned. I'm concerned, right? You. I'm concerned, but I'm not worried. And I don't do scared, right? I do not do scared, because the worst thing that can happen is I die. And I don't know, then I'm in another life and who cares, right? So whatever. But like, so those are my reminders. And of course, that's also the PTSD in me that just says, yeah, girl, we don't do that. Yeah, we don't do that. But I want, for those of y'all who do not know, like some of the things that she's talking about, thank you for the crown reaction, is so when we talk about the moral majority, how many of you all don't know what the moral majority is? When she talks about the moral majority, put a 1 in the chat if you're not familiar with what the moral majority is and what it means when she says that. Because it is a whole ass thing. So, okay. So pens and paper, you ready? Here we go. Before James Dobson, even holy smoke, before James Dobson, the moral majority was a thing. So you have to go all the way back to Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson and to Paul Weyrich, and understand the creation of the moral majority. And so remember earlier when I said that this wasn't about the weaponization of Christianity within the GOP, within the Republican Party, was not because of it wasn't because of the Roe v. Wade. It wasn't that. It was because of the civil rights movement. Jerry Falwell had been told, hey, listen, you have to integrate your school, right? If you do not integrate your Christian schools and things, then guess what? You lose your tax exempt status. It was literally, and then Bob Jones University went on to have a court case about it and all the things, right? And so they were like, how dare you make us allow Black people into our spaces, or we lose this. And so it was, how do we cultivate and how do we create this? And so they literally got the roles from the churches. They said, give me your lists, give me all your contacts, right? And I'll make you famous, and I'll make you a household name, and I'll make you do all of those things. Yeah. So, well, that's because Paul Weyrich is the co-founder of the Heritage Foundation, right? Right. So Paul Weyrich is the co-founder of the Heritage Foundation. He's also this political guru who also has himself just wrapped and integrated into church on Sunday mornings. And so that's what, and so they actually created a company called The Moral Majority. And so I'll let Rev Karla kind of pick up from there and give you all a little bit more information while I get these girls this food.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to start. So Dani covered that really well. And I know many of you have watched, Bad Faith, and you can read the book if you can't see the documentary. But that started in the 70s. And like Dani said, Paul Weyrich is one of the founders of the Heritage Foundation. So you're immediately seeing how this thread's going to come up to today. So you had the moral majority with a massive influence up until the Reagan administration, and basically sabotaging Carter, even though he was an evangelical. they wanted to blame a Democrat for the IRS rulings and the desegregation, even though much of that started under Nixon. They wanted to blame a Democrat. So do you see the narratives that are happening? So because once again, this was started not because of AB. Sure. If you go back and look, I want to go over this history because I think this is really important, especially when you talk about the Southern Baptist Church. I want to get this history right. In 1968, there was a symposium co-sponsored by Christianity Today. So that's still a magazine that's still very, very vibrant. And it refused in 1968, this symposium, which is Evangelical's flagship magazine, it refused to call AB sinful. It said it was between a woman and her doctor. In 1971, the Southern Baptist Convention, okay, so at the time, which it's still the largest Protestant denomination in the nation, it passed a resolution supporting AB, okay? Then they reaffirmed that in 1974, a year after Roe v. Wade. And then that went on into 1976. They reaffirmed it again in 1976. When was Roe v. Wade? It was in 1973. So you can see that narrative goes out the window. This was all about segregation. So when we talk about the religious right being born out of white supremacy, can you say that here?
I do.
Okay. I so far, that's 100% true. If you don't have time and everybody's time is bad, if you can't read Bad Faith or you can't watch the documentary, there is an article in Politico. If you put in Politico, the real origins of the religious right. Politico, the real origins of the religious right. And in that is an opinion by, hey, I need to tell my family, hey guys, just a little, thanks. The real origins of the religious right. And it's written by, I believe it's written by Balmer. But he does an opinion piece for Politico.com. So it's great. It's very much a condensed, but it gives you all of this information so that you can see what happens and how these rulings, they saw a threat to their way of life and what they believed and thought that was part of their faith. Okay. So then, and you're looking at Paul Weyrich, who we know is the founder, one of the founders of the Heritage Foundation. He was a man looking for a cause to ignite the evangelical base. And he had tried to bring race into it before, but people felt like it was going to be, it was way too divisive.
Yep, it's going to backfire.
They tried many different things. They tried school prayer. They tried many different things, but the one thing that they landed on was this. So, Dani, I'm gonna try to find something else here. If you want to take it from here,
I got it.
Scroll down my 37 pages of notes.
No worries. So I'm putting the article from Politico that she just mentioned in my link tree right now. So for those of you guys that don't know, if you go to my, the book that she mentioned was A Fever in the Heartland. Fever in the Heartland is the book that she mentioned. But I'm putting it in my link tree. That was the name of the book though. Okay.
Yes,
so
and the violent take it by force.
Yeah, and the violent. Do you know what's
a must read?
As soon as you said that used to be my scripture. That used to be my scripture. Matthew 11:12. Yeah, and the violent take it by force. That used to be my scripture all day. And as soon as you said it, I was like, "Ooh, that's a blast from the past." Holy jeez. Yeah, it's wild now to yeah, it's wild to be where I am right now in this moment, given who I used to be at other points and at other times in history. But
so I do have a couple of notes from 19. How did we get from like Reagan to 2016? Do you want to talk about that, or are we?
I'm good going there.
Okay, so because I am not going to let Mitch McConnell off the hook on any way, shape, or form. I don't care how many times he talks about Trump. I don't care how many op-eds he reads. That man is not going to leave this earth thinking somehow that he has sanctified himself or his legacy in any way, shape, or form, because he came into national politics in 1985 and almost immediately vowed to deliver the legislative arm of the government. So because the Heritage Foundation already had tendrils, even though the moral majority was starting to disband because they had financial problems, you also had a lot of corruption related to Jim Baker. I'm sure you remember Jim Baker and Tammy Faye
and
Baker.
Tammy.
Yes, and Jimmy Swaggart.
Yes.
Then somebody mentioned Pat Robertson. Somebody mentioned James Dobson. Focus on the Family. You have the Christian Coalition. Pat Buchanan. These are all big names that started to come in to fill the void of the dissolution of the moral majority, and that were intricately involved with the Heritage Foundation. And this is when the big plots started. And the Family Research Council, which was also part of James
Dobson. I used to have all of them. Listen, my children will laugh. Okay, so y'all will be like, there's no way this was you. So listen, I was so neck deep in it. Y'all, my children did not listen to secular music for the first half of their lives. Like, for real. Like, they missed out on the whole Pokemon, Rugrats, whatever era. Like, none of that happened. We were the VeggieTales people. VeggieTales.
Kids hate me.
We were them. It was, will you get me the flavor? Yes, baby. Oh, I see. Wow. But that was us, right? And we had the subscription to, oh my gosh, what is it? What's the Egypt? Oh my gosh, James Dobson, their story about, oh my gosh, it's something Egypt. It's a movie. It's based on the Bible story. Yes, baby. Hold on a second. Prince of Egypt. That's it. See, look at you all in the comments knowing what I'm talking about. Yes.
I'll have to look it up.
Oh my sweet baby Jesus. We had them all. We had the Prince of Egypt. We had the whole, that was us. And so for you guys that don't understand just how, when you are in deep, I think it's one of the reasons why, and tell me if you feel like this or not. I think it's one of the reasons why I'm able to give MAGA a little bit of grace, because I understand what it is to be all the way into something, all consumed in it, and it not make a lick of sense.
Yeah.
That.
I can certainly understand it. You've been there. You know what they're thinking, and when people say they don't believe that, oh yeah, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do. They really do. They really do believe it. That we already talked about the Federalist Society. I'm just trying to get through this, but what I want to try to get to is this is the birth around 2001. So you're talking about a relatively new organization in the NAR. And again, I have to be careful. I don't want anything to happen on this. And the birth of the Seven Mountain Mandate, which we talked about early. So these are really, really young. These are really, really young ideologies inside Christianity. But if you want to learn more about that, look up C. Peter Wagner. And the book, The Violent Take It by Force, really goes into this, because this is how you learn, like I said, about Lance Wallnau. There is an article in Rolling Stone, I can't think of the name of it, but I'll get it to Dani, that really lays out Lance Wallnau's belief in the Seven Mountain Mandate, because he's really the one who perpetuated that, but also his belief in dominionism, because this is where and going back to the Violent Take It by Force, that Christians must take over, not just that they should, that they absolutely must. And understanding the key theological points that's in this that started to like cement all of these organizations working together. So from Focus on the Family to the Family Research Council to Pat Robertson's organization to the Heritage Foundation, they're all cemented. And I don't know at what point Kevin Roberts comes into that when he became affiliated, but it would be interesting to see. But here's something in this research that I forgot about that I had even uncovered. In 2008, Sarah Palin was anointed by one of the NAR pastors.
Stop it. Stop it.
I forgot about that. It was like I said, doing this live made me get my notes together.
Yeah.
In her home church Wasilla, Wasilla, Assembly of God. They ordained her to become his running mate, become McCain's running mate.
That's crazy.
That's how close they were already there. Their influence was already coming onto the national circuit. And I'm going to do a little bit of digging in that. And I bet some of you here, because you all are awesome. I see the comments. Then I talked to you. I did all kinds of videos on, there's no reason we should be having the National Prayer Breakfast right now. And I know some people see that there has to be a separation of church and state, but right now it is nothing but part of NAR influence. Like NAR isn't a denomination, but it just kind of has tendrils into how they infiltrate their way into some of these. It's like plants.
Yeah.
If you read the book, you'll understand it better. And it's certainly there was an ignition of this during the Obama years.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so now, and you understand when you go back and you look at Jerry Falwell and the real reasons behind moral majority and all of that lineage coming up until today, what do you think it meant when Obama got elected?
Yes, that was it. That was the straw.
No, I just don't like his policies. Oh no, there's more about him that you didn't like.
100%. And that's what people don't understand is that it is a reaction. The reason it is a decade later since that man was in office and they are still talking about him is because how dare he? Like it was okay that we had gotten into certain spaces, but how dare he? Not only how dare he be elected and be in that office, but they understood clearly that if you could now have a Black man be president of the United States, anything was possible. And when you add to that the decline in the birthing rate in the white population, when you add all of those things together, one of the things that you will see Bad Faith talk about is any time that the white Christian patriarchy feels threatened, as if their position in power is in danger, you will see them mobilize and weaponize, right?
100%. And it escalated. At that point, they thought they were losing all control because they also saw with Clinton, but especially Obama, that their policies were not popular. They knew they would never win the popular vote, that they were going to have to do something that involved deception and corruption and manipulation to make this happen. And I wrote in my notes here that Obama's president was interpreted by those NAR leaders as evidence of satanic influence in government. Yes. And that's not just metaphorically. They literally believed that there was now an influence of a demonic influence inside of our government. And here's what's interesting, because if you, like I said, I mentioned Sarah Palin, but also the prayer rally in 2011, Governor Rick Perry, he very much believed in dominionist theology. So he was one degree of separation between him and what he believed as far as the NAR ideology. He believed in all of that. Yeah. So he brought that right into Main Street politics by having a prayer rally in Texas in direct response to Obama's policies and his presidency. So you see, we had cues. We just weren't paying attention.
No.
They were there. Then you start to see the Heritage Foundation really start to position themselves into power to create a launch. And they saw that the Affordable Care Act as one thing that was related almost to the AB that they could
exploit.
Demonize that and exploit it to make that the cause, even though most people are so ignorant as to what it is. Of course, it needed some changes, but just what it's been able to do as far as alleviate some of the suffering for American people, they were able to turn that into something else that was weaponized.
Yep.
And demonized in order to create the playbook to get ready for 2015. And that is the road to Trump.
And if you don't, so to give you an idea, so like Kevin Roberts, so in addition to his Catholicism practices, right? And you guys have to see the connection, because JD Vance, so just so that we're clear, JD Vance was not some Bible-toting Christian up until this point. The choice for Catholicism was, in order to be the golden child, in order to get this position, he needed to do several things, right? And one of them was convert. They needed a good old Catholic boy right up in there. And that was how he became part of the establishment. But Kevin Roberts, his entire background. So he used to teach in Texas. He did his master's and all of those things. And his specialty is African-American, is enslavement of transatlantic slaves. He wrote papers on them from Louisiana and in Texas, his master's thesis and all of those things. He wanted to study what it was about Black communities and slave communities that both enabled them to develop, and then also what makes them deconstruct. How do you attack them? It's one of the reasons why they've gone after young Black men with this FBA movement, right? Is they want to be able to it's one of the reasons why they're coming after Black women. It's why the SAVE Act is important. It's why the largest group of people that lost their jobs in the last year have been Black women under this administration, right? And so it's because they understand that under the matriarchy, the matriarchal focus that exists within our communities is what makes us so powerful. And it's what makes us able to motivate. And we call it, I'm going to get you all the way together. That's what we call it. I'm going to get you all the way together. But, he he was the president of Wyoming Catholic College. Kevin Roberts was for 3 years. And then he went on to the Texas Public Policy Foundation. And he was there for 5 years, from 2016 to 2021. And then in 2021 is when he went to the Heritage Foundation. Isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting. Do you know if how he's affiliated with Opus Dei? Do I say that right? Is it Opus Dei or Opus Dei?
I say Opus Dei, but
okay.
I could be wrong too. But
I don't.
Let me see real quick. And so for those of you guys who, and for those of you who don't know, I love The Guardian. It's another one of mine. Politico is one that I love to read, and I love The Guardian. The Guardian has an article literally from 2024. Kevin Roberts, architect of Project 2025, has close ties to radical Catholic group Opus Dei.
There you go. So, for those of you who aren't very familiar, just go back and re-listen to Harrison Butker's commencement speech. Because as misogynistic as that was, it really was to a lot of women, as it should have been. He gave cues. He was signaling to Opus Dei because he talked about returning to the traditional Latin Mass, which is one of the things where they butted heads up against Pope Francis when Pope Francis then put restrictions. So, on the surface, you're talking about one little thing, which was the traditional Latin Mass, which was what the founder of Opus Dei back in the 1920s wanted to make sure that they returned to. But oftentimes inside those traditions is also going back to the culture, the beliefs, the confinements, the patriarchal structures that limit people.
Yeah.
So that you can control them. So immediately Opus Dei is putting itself up against, it's pushing up against Pope Francis, the Vatican, and the Vatican pushed back.
Yeah.
So you're talking about that looks as strict as I guess a fundamentalist Catholicism, as much as fundamentalist NAR is inside. So you're looking at two extremist views of Catholicism and Christianity right now in the power seats inside this fascist government.
Yes.
And so that's, if you were from the outside looking in, you could say this is fascinating from a sociological perspective. But we're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So trying to figure it out, to say, okay, well, what's their next step? And I don't think they even know. I think there is some tension. There has to be.
There is 100%. And because they are at this place now where, if you really look at them, and this is what I really want people to understand. So I cannot tell you how much when I saw last night that all three of Mom Dani's people were gonna win their primaries last night. I said, first of all, there's ketchup and mustard on somebody's walls somewhere. Number two, the president is going to be very tired tomorrow because he's going to be up all night on Truth Social, ranting and raving, right?
Sure.
And number three, the Democratic establishment is like, oh shit, right? There's so much oh shit. And here's what I love about it. I love that it is across the spectrum. So this is my thing. Okay, so I don't know if you've heard me say this or not, and I get excited when I talk about it, as you can tell. Okay, so I talk about, so when you know somebody that has like this terminal illness, think about cancer, right? And somebody is entering that last 30 days of their life. When they get about a week or so away from passing away, there's this rally, right? There's like this death rally that happens. And they seem all of a sudden like they are all better and they've got energy and they're able to talk and walk. And you're just like, oh my God, did the doctors get it wrong? Are they gonna do whatever? And the key to remember is that you should enjoy the rally because you're just one step closer to death.
Ooh.
And this is
baby Jesus.
Yeah. And so I have been
I
saying for years, this is the rally. This is the death rattle. This is the rally that you hear right before it's done because the patriarchy is dying. The racism is dying. And don't get me wrong. It's not like these things will cease to exist because human beings are human beings. But in terms of them being the ruling class, in terms of them being the deciding factor, you don't get it. Communism is not a big, scary word anymore. Socialism, not a big, scary word anymore. Marxist, not a big, scary word anymore. You can't convince people that they're burning in hell because they love somebody different. We cannot, it's not just that we're not going back. We cannot go back because you cannot unknow what you know. And now we know. Yeah. Now we know. You can't unknow. You can't change children. You cannot change. They already know. And because of that, we have no choice. And here's the thing. The harder they try, if you've not noticed, you all, the harder they try to force us back, the more it backfires and the further forward we go. So my thing is keep being you because we keep going faster, right? All you're doing is bringing it to fruition faster. And so that's the thing that I want everybody to tap into and to really, really hold on to. Listen, I just look at JD Vance. He's not scary. You could whip his ass in the back alley. He's not, he's a punk. He's a punk. He's not scary. You know what I mean?
And he's not even got I don't even think he's got a double digit approval rating in MAGA. I mean, the whole thing about how he's appropriating bell hooks, which when that came to light is so controversial, even though MAGA may not know it. The fact that those of us who are looking at this and figuring out what the next steps are, it's another level of how desperate. There's not an original thought when it comes to anything that is creative or spiritual. The only thing you can do is desperately imitate Black women.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a choice. You don't have an original thought in your, and I swear you look at that man and there's no thought there.
No.
There's no original thought.
No. His most original thought was when he was a little boy and he thought he was gay. That was his most, if you guys do not know, he talks about this in his book. He talks about, believing that he was gay and his grandmother asking him if he enjoys certain activities and if he didn't, then he couldn't be gay. To the person in the chat who said, what's bell hooks? Bell hooks has passed, but she was a Black woman, an author, a poet, a writer, incredible, brilliant individual. I highly recommend you go read her works, but there's a ton of videos out there about J.D. Vance naming his books after bell hooks and what this is about. And that's what she's referring to as his appropriation of bell hooks. And so it's really important that, people will say, well, why is it always about race? And my thing is, you tell me, because y'all are the ones that made it this way. We didn't make it about race, right? We would love for it to not be about race.
It always, because Christianity made it. It's the largest Christian Protestant denomination in America was created to protect slavery in this country. The Southern Baptist Convention, its name was intentionally chosen to do the work of their Lord to protect what they thought was God ordained.
Yeah.
They are still the largest Christian denomination in this country. We have lineage. I was 8 years old when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was unalived. You have to, we are not talking about ancient history. And I know you all know that. I'm preaching to the choir here, but those are our talking points, that when people say, oh, that's yesterday. No, it isn't. This is the lineage. It's our DNA. If you know anything about epigenetics and you wonder about some of the visceral reactions you have to being called out, I'm going to go down one rabbit hole here, and then I'm going to have to wrap it up. I'm an early warning person, but one of the things that I'm just going to talk to people who look like me, is that our indoctrination, it was subtle, but it's there. And I want you to help me unpack this, because I know that I see this all the time, but we don't talk enough about it. In that we think that if we are told that we are racist, that we are bad. And we have to be able to separate the fact that racism is part of our indoctrination that taught us about our superiority, that was placed there to benefit something else that did intrinsically trickle down to us. But we have to learn to be able to sit in that discomfort, to say that the only reason we end up still being bad people is when we refuse to believe that we have it.
Yeah.
When we refuse to believe that we think that we can white-splain something to people of color or to Black and brown people, or that we somehow don't see color. Those are the things that we are struggling with right now when we are dealing with people who want to believe, who understand that something is wrong with this administration, but they can't quite see that their complicitness, that something that they're still holding on to, contributed to the fact that he's in office,
yes,
to the fact that Heritage Foundation has been stirring in us. I have to hold myself accountable, because I knew inside my progressive church that bigotry was sitting right beside me, and I said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that there were people inside that Presbyterian church that did not want the church to ordain gay clergy.
Yeah.
They didn't want it. They were disgusted by it. And I said nothing. So we have to understand that we have to accept our part of it and then work for a solution.
Yeah.
And that is how we start to extract ourselves from the racist indoctrination that we receive, that's inherently part of who we are. We work for the good of the whole, and we are open to receive instruction when we are learning. We are constantly learning. We are constantly willing to be able to have people offer us a mirror and tell us, here's what you said. Here's what you did. I would like to offer you a suggestion for how you can say that or how that harmed me, and not be your immediate response to be defensiveness or over explain it. Can we say thank you? I'm sorry. Thank you. I'll do better. I'm going to take that and I'm going to receive it and I'm going to do better. My intent is not that, but I did it and I'm sorry. And that is hard. That is very hard for I don't even do it. Now I see the violent takes it by force. Great podcast called The Charismatic Revival Fury. That basically it's him and another podcaster going through this book. If you would rather listen to a podcast, this is really, really good. This goes through, so this is going to explain to you also Paula White's, Doug Wilson, all of it is in there to show you how the NAR is interwoven into the Heritage Foundation. It's fascinating. And it's going to leave you with a better perspective of how we got from 1989 to where we are today.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions. I'll run through them because I know you're an early riser. Thank you, Phantom, for throwing them in here. And oh my God, y'all, for whatever reason, my comments stopped going up over here. So I just scrolled down to a plethora of comments. So love y'all, mean it. Okay, so let me see. Meeting. Okay, so okay, so someone wants to know is if the documentary The Family is based off the book The Family.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. And then someone says, are you familiar with the book? I know you are. Quiverful.
Yes.
I already knew. I knew the answer to this already. Quiverful is something else.
I was not part of the Independent Fundamentalist Baptist, but I was in proximity. And I'm sure many of you know Tia Levings, Levings. She has a new book coming out, by the way, that is going to be fascinating, but she certainly talks a lot about Quiverful, and her experience was very much influenced by the teachings from Doug Wilson. So yeah.
And I just want to remind you all that if you have questions, if you are resistant to what we're saying when we talk about Christian nationalism in this country and the weaponization of Christianity within religion, within politics and within society, I want you to think about what other religions do you see in the White House having access to the president? What other religions do you see? We're not having a national prayer breakfast. We're not going to the mosque for the national prayer breakfast, right? We're not doing that. We're not going to temple. We're not going to the woods for a full moon dance. We're not doing any of those things. There's only one religion that gets access to our federal government. And by the way, your tax dollars pay for Congress to have a Bible study every Wednesday night. Mike Johnson goes, Diana Harshbarger goes, all of that, just so that you are aware. And if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, look up Mike Johnson's Appeal to Heaven flag outside of his office and what that stands for. Brandy was asking, what is a Strong's Concordance? Okay. So a Strong's Concordance is a book. So you know that when you look at the Bible, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, the New Testament was written in Greek. The Strong's Concordance helps you look at scripture and look at the translation and the meaning of those words in the original languages, right? No, it's hard for you to believe. Listen, your girl at one point in time has given a check to fucking Paula White, along with Juanita Bynum and along with TD Jakes. Listen, it is
Joyce Meyer. I
Joy-
used to follow her around everywhere.
I'm just saying, listen, I was at 2005. I was at Women Thou Art Loosed in Atlanta, Georgia. I was there. So I'm telling you, it is a thing. And so this is what I'm saying is that it is not, I know that it seems like hard, but when it is how you are raised, when it is what you are born in, listen, don't be judging me. Sit down, folks. So it wasn't a get out type thing. Like this wasn't like, breaking Amish. Nobody had to come rescue me. It wasn't that. It was literally, it did not sit well, right? It did not sit well. My discernment did not allow it. And I think that that's the thing. And this is why I said to you before, understanding that when you stop looking for God outside of you and understand that the God in you is what you need to be tapping into, and that certainty, that power, that wisdom. And let me just take the God word out for those of you guys that flinch when I say that. I don't care whether you call it your sixth sense, your intuition, your guidance, spirit, Holy Spirit, God. I don't care what name you use. Every single one of us has that knowing. Every single one of us has the knowing. And what the patriarchy is terrified of, because the women tap into the knowing easier than the men.
There you go.
Intuitively.
Empathy, consciousness.
Yes.
Awareness, picking up emotional cues.
Yes.
Energy. I mean, yeah.
And then they are terrified that you will tap into it, that you will know it, and God forbid you will trust that sucker. Because when you trust it, y'all, I'm telling you, if I get a nudge to do something, it does not matter. I will blindly, and I have blindly packed up my bags and moved. And being like, I don't want to leave here. I love where I live. And just be like, no, girl, you got to go. And then I just go. You know what I mean? Last one is, so A Money wanted to know, how do you feel when they use Christianity to cause harm in other countries like the Middle East and Sudan and Nigeria and the Congo and places like that?
Well, that goes back to the dominionism, but also if you just want to look at what's happening, now I'm 100% no, I can't talk about the blue and white state.
I do. I talk about Israel all the time.
I'm afraid that I will somehow impede on you because of some of the limitations.
I will translate for you.
Okay. So, we don't talk enough about Christian Z.
Mm-hmm.
And that in at its core, the romanticizing of that country.
Yes.
For those beliefs. And I'm not knocking your beliefs.
Right.
But you have to understand how that has been capitalized for greed.
Yes.
Because when you have FIFA announcing a $75 million investment in Gaza, when there is no electricity, no schools, people going hungry, they have no protection, and yet what are we going to do? What are we doing with $75 million worth of soccer facilities that are going to be, and you look at that based on the infrastructure that's non-existent, they're signaling. Just like everything, they test the waters before they do it.
Yes.
And so, and it's not to say, we're not saying these things like you have said, it's not to fear this, it's to say, what are we going to do about it to change it? So how do I feel about it? I'm angry. I'm angry that this is part of our religious heritage, but we are the ones who brought you the Crusades. We are the ones who sent a Spanish explorer across the world and said that you can do whatever you want in the name of God. Mm-hmm. And as long as you do it in the name of God and don't tell us, you can do whatever you want to any people that you find. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did in the name of God.
Yes.
This has been a pattern. So when we talk about, I don't know if it's a thing, but there's a thing as Christian epigenetics. In my mind, you can rationalize it in your head enough to believe that God is happy about the annihilation of an entire people.
Right.
It's beyond disgusting. And one thing that I also feel like when we talk about actionable steps, you know, we know now AB is basically restricted. It's not basically non-existent in Indiana. Now they're coming for IVF. They're coming for birth control. It's all laid out in Project 2025. So in the short term, you know, people should be planning accordingly. If your insurance is covering it now, that's great. If not, you need to make plans accordingly for how you're going to do this. But then also when we're talking about legislative action and the ways that we communicate with our legislators, these are things that we need to start planning because they are talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish that we could say, let's talk 100% about what's happening globally. The house is on fire, and we've got to make sure that we can make it even to the midterms before we can even start talking actionable steps. And I'm not saying not to ignore it. We make content when we can. We push out letters when we can. But I am 100% convinced that it's worldwide, but Gaza is our biggest failure. Gaza is our heartbreak. Gaza will be the place where every one of our descendants will wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
And the same with the Congo, every place else. How did this happen?
Right. Yeah.
And it goes back to a system that started back even in the 50s with the family. They were playing the long game. And when you are told that empathy is a sin, when you are told to not listen to the cries of your child,
right,
that they are in God's hands, when you are told that a person with disabilities would be better off in heaven, and somehow their body will be renewed, and that you're minimizing the value of that person by putting that language around it, which is happening right now, then you understand how we have dehumanized the entire human condition, not just here, but entirely in the world. And that is Christianity. And that's, we gotta talk about the brutal reality. Yes, there's some really good things, good people doing good work, but it's not enough. We have, because that the side of Christianity that has our government in a stranglehold is the one that we have to wring their fingers off of it and say, no, we are the people. Yeah. We are the majority. We are taking it back.
Yes, 100%. And I love that so much. So let me just say this really quickly, because you guys, so I know you guys have other things, and we've already said maybe we can do this again at another point in time. But I just want to say that I'm incredibly grateful for you because you get to say and speak into places and things that I don't get, that I can, but it won't have the same impact, right? And so it's incredibly important for someone like you to do your work, to deconstruct, and then to speak it into places where people can hear you, because there will be people that will hear you that will not hear me, right? And so it takes courage to do that. And it really takes courage to do that after you've been on the stage. Girl, they put you on the stage, right? They put you on the stage, and then you still said, yeah, can't do it. I gotta go. And so that says,
I did do that, didn't I?
You did do that. You did do that. And you know what? And this is the thing that I love about that. It's how I know you're my people. It's how I know, hands down, you're my people, because when you know, when it's not about your ego, when it's not about your brand, when it's not about who you're on the stage next to, it's not about who glorifies you or who likes you or who says, oh, good job, well done. It's like, oh no, this isn't, I can't reconcile this. And so no matter what it looks like, I got to do something different. And I might not even know what the different thing is in the moment. I just know it ain't this, right? I just know that it isn't this. And so for those of you all who don't already, make sure that you follow Rev Karla across all the platforms.
Thank you.
Make sure that you also look at her book, Deconstructing. Highly recommend that everybody grab a copy of that as well. And just remember, folks, that regardless of where you are in your journeys and in your walk, whatever faith that looks like for you, right? You are not by yourself. And we all, at the core of who we all are, most of us believe the same way, not necessarily in God or religion, but in humanity. And if we stay rooted in that humanity and in that work, that is how we move forward and get things done. And there are tangible steps to doing this. 133 days from today is the midterms. And if we do that correctly, we will walk out of there and come January, begin the process of putting funding back into SNAP, back into Medicaid, taking it out of the Department of Labor and putting it back into the Department of Education, taking the money away from ICE and putting it back into the FTC, because that is what having a majority in the House and in the Senate can do. It can immediately begin to help people. Immediately, right? It doesn't fix every fucking thing, but it starts the process, right? They just want you to be focused on a reflecting pool instead of the midterms, for God's sake.
There you go.
Right? I don't care about I literally could give less than 0 fucks about that reflecting pool. Okay. So, again, appreciate you to the nth degree for joining.
Oh my gosh. I'm so inspired by you. And, I saw somebody say, does Rev Karla ever go live? Well, watching Dani do what she's doing has incited me. It's not something I'm comfortable doing, but it is encouraging me to be to show up more, to be more vulnerable. Those are things I do struggle with. I'm much more comfortable behind the recorded button. But I think especially right now, thank you, Indo Moon. I think especially right now, this is so important, and people need to deconstruct it. For some of you who are just have come here and hadn't found Dani, one thing that you can also do is go to Deconstructing Karen. Is a video to watch. There's also a book, and I'm sorry, I'm skipping the name right now, and I am starting to crash.
That's okay.
I'm a 4 a.m.er, so
I got you.
So Deconstructing Karen, and what Dani said earlier about it's what the job that we white women especially have to do when it comes to being a gateway for deconstructing and decolonizing, not because we're the end result, because we are a gateway to the people who really are teaching us, who are empowering us, but still encouraging and leading us and I say this with my whole chest, just like I said it about Jasmine in a video yesterday, it's the Black woman who's going to lead us. It's Black women through and through. And that's what they fear. They fear their power. So we have a very important job, because part of decolonizing is understanding the racism and the prejudice that's been put in us. And sometimes we just can't see it until someone who looks like us puts a mirror up to us to say, yeah, I was you.
And I just want you all to
I am you.
I am you. Yeah, I am not my sister's keeper. I am my sister. And here's the thing. Listen, when you see the mirror, it is not saying that you're a bad person. You're not a bad person. And that's what I really want you to understand, is that the world doesn't say to you, oh, you're a privileged white woman. You get to be racist. That's not what happens. The world just accommodates you. It just gets out of the way for you. It makes room for you. And so you just are taught that by your experience. So the thing is so I have this thing. Being ignorant is not bad. Everyone is ignorant about something. I'm ignorant. I don't know how to fly a plane, right? I'm ignorant about that. But it's something that I know that I don't know. It is the aggressive ignorance. It is the willful ignorance. It is the, oh, I don't like what I see. It's what you do after you know. It's what you do after you've been introduced. And so just come on, strap it up, get it together, and do the hard work, because on the other side of that is a really, really amazing world that that I think we are going to create after this little death rattle they got going.
Yeah, the death rattle. I said death throes of patriarchy. The wanton ignorance, the Christian wanton ignorance is very much, I don't want to know. And that is still in there.
Yeah. But it's,
oh my gosh, this has been so much fun.
You too.
We need to do it again. Thank you all so very much for your support. My goodness. You inspire me to also keep going, because sometimes on this side, I know Dani knows this, it gets hard, but you all are amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate you very much. Thank you guys for showing Rev Karla lots and lots of love. And we will definitely do it again.
Yes.
So, all right. Sure. Good dreams, good rest. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So folks, let me just say this. For those of you guys that, nope, I'm clicking the wrong things. Jeez, help me. Hold on, you guys. There we go. Okay. All right. Yeah, love her. Love her, mean it. 100%. Love her. And, you know, this is just really, really important work, folks. This is part of it. For those of you guys that have been with me prior to the 2024 election, you've heard me say repeatedly that this journey forward isn't just about fixing the politics and voting, right? It's also about us as individuals. It's about us as human beings and us as people, and what that work looks like and what that healing looks like. Listen, the world that we have right now is what we created. We created this shit show. We created the shit show that we currently have. And what's so empowering about that is we can create something different. We can absolutely create something different that is a better representation of who we are as human beings, right? And so this is about doing that work. And there's going to be the intersectionality of faith and religion and racism and sexism and homophobia and transphobia. So Spider Alexis, I do have a list of documentaries and books that are in my link tree and in my Google Drive. I will update it and add more, because there are definitely more now that aren't even in there. But we can do that. You like that graphic back there? You guys can't see it over here, but yeah. So this was my interpretation of the weaponization of Christianity. Yeah. And of religion. So I want you all to just kind of take a deep breath, right? And understand that we are getting through this. Change is not coming. Change is already here. It is recorded, and it's also on YouTube and Facebook, so you can replay it over there as well. I will download the TikTok version and I will put it up as well. But literally, this is, you sent me a question on Discord as well. Okay, I got you. Is the video charismatic revival theory? I don't know what I don't know anything about that video. The documentary that I talked about earlier tonight was Bad Faith. Oh, great, Terry, love that. Okay. All right. So listen, folks, your girl is exhausted. I have been live for about 8.5, 9 hours today. So tired I am. For more information about Project for the People and this thing that we're putting together and this thing that we are doing, that enables us to get where we want to be in terms of winning elections, in terms of creating communities and conversations and building connection, and in terms of getting to the place where we have government accountability, you can go to my link tree. It is the first link in my link tree. The second link is where you get merch. And the URL, if you don't see my link tree, is makingamericatruly.great.com. Okay. All right. I appreciate you all very much. Love you. Mean it. I am tired. So your girl's going to get off here, wash her face, and I will see you all listen, I will see you all tomorrow, but it will be a little bit later on in the day because Mila is going to the eye doctor in the morning, and so it will be after that. Okay. All right, folks. Love you, mean it. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a good night. Okay. Bye.